So I think we are all ready. Before I address Mr. Lustano, I have a question for the claimants as to how we should proceed today.
Upon reflection, my initial instinct was right. I think we should proceed with the cross-examination tomorrow. I appreciate that. But I didn't come prepared to do the cross-examination today.
All right. So this is going to be a short evening. If you allow me to switch briefly to Spanish.
Señor Presidente. Excuse me for interrupting you, Chair. President, rather. It's just a question of logistics, and it could be discussed at the end. But if today all we are going to have is the direct for Mr. Rodrigo Lostano, would we begin at 8 a.m. as anticipated tomorrow? Yes. Agreed.
We are released today early. Bueno, pues como decía...
As I was saying, I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Lostano. It's been hard for me to figure out how to pronounce your name, but I think I got it right. I'd like to note that in front of you, you should have a statement, a witness declaration. I don't know if you have it in Spanish or English. If you could read it out, please. Good afternoon. I solemnly declare upon my honor and conscience that I shall speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you very much. As I said, this will be a relatively brief session because you're only going to have the direct examination by Mexico's representatives, and I give Mexico the floor. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Lostano. Is there any clarification or change that you'd like to make to either of your two witness statements? Not at this time. Thank you. Could you explain to us what your current functions are as legal manager for private law litigation matters at Pemex? Yes, my functions now are to address those proceedings in which Pemex and its productive subsidiaries are a party. That means that we handle contentious matters of all sort. I have under me a labor office for labor-related litigation. I have a criminal area, which helps me with criminal matters. There is also an office for administrative matters and an office for private law matters. Thank you very much. Could you now explain for us what your functions entailed in 2017 when you were legal manager for private law litigation matters at Pemex? Yes, of course. When I served as manager, I was in charge of just one of these areas, which was private law. In this area, we basically see civil litigation, commercial litigation, and alternative dispute resolution, such as arbitration and mediation. Thank you very much. As you know, in this arbitration, there are controverted facts regarding what we've called Contract 821, which was entered into between PEP and Finley. Now, Drake Finley, could you tell us whether in 2017, as part of your duties as legal manager, there was any possibility of rescinding Contract 821? No, that was not within my possibilities. That was not within my powers. The one who administers contracts, and this implies, of course, a performance of the contract and carrying out an act such as rescission of the contract, would be up to the administrator of that contract. So the administrator of the contract is the one who would carry out actions such as that. Thank you very much. Of this contract, from this Contract 821, emerged litigation, the annulment trial or annulment proceeding of 2017 before the Federal Administrative Court. Could you please explain to us whether, as part of your duties as legal manager for private law litigation matters, whether that included participating in this annulment proceeding? No, that did not fall within my duties at that time. In the area I was in charge of, I had about 500 proceedings, so I was quite busy handling the proceedings that were under my area. This takes me to another question. Now, Contract 821 gave rise also to a civil trial, which we've called here Civil Litigation 200/2017 for the benefit of the court of the tribunal. Could you please explain whether, as part of your duties as legal manager for private law litigation matters at Pemex, did that include participating in this litigation? Yes, as legal manager for private law litigation matters, I was in charge of handling the regular civil action brought by Drake, and a lawyer was assigned who was in that section. And yes, I was in charge of handling that matter. Do you know the reasons why Pemex Exploration and Production rescinded Contract 821? Yes, it's my understanding that it's because of various breaches by the supplier or provider, and which basically led to PEP having the right to rescind that contract. And well, this may be a very vague question or very obvious, but the claimants in this arbitration, were they able to fight or challenge the rescission of Contract 821? Yes, indeed. Clauses on administrative rescission such as this provide for a proceeding in which one is guaranteed a hearing. The procedure is basically that the rescission process begins, notice of it is given, where the possible breaches are spelled out, and as a matter of contract and as a matter of law, the provider has the right to come before this proceeding to put forward arguments and to try to refute, using arguments and evidence, to refute the breaches that are being noted. After this proceeding, with the provider, PEP has to issue a determination where it establishes whether or not the contract ends, and whether it ends or does not end the contract, it has to set forth the reasons underlying the decision made. After this, the provider may turn to an administrative remedy called a motion for review, or may turn directly to the Federal Court of Administrative Justice. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to another topic. Based on your experience in Mexican litigation, is it common for litigating lawyers of either party, whether plaintiff or defendant, is it common for them to seek to meet with judges to explain or set forth orally their position regarding some proceeding underway? Yes, it is very common. It's a very common practice, indeed. In the forum, one who does not come forward to litigate their matters, to set forth their arguments before the principles of the judiciary, well, this is looked down upon. It's as though someone's not on top of their own responsibilities, that they're being negligent with the matter that they're handling. I'd now like to take you to paragraph 28 of your second witness statement. You have it right there in front of you. Now, taking advantage of the fact that, well, you're here to for the benefit of the tribunal, could you explain the context in which you came to meet Mr. Roberto Quiosean, and particularly, who is this person? Yes, I met Mr. Roberto Quiosean around 2017 because he was a person, a lawyer, who, when there were matters in the United States, mainly in 2017, there were matters such as Odebrecht, Braskem, a company called Key Energy, that had issues in the United States. And this person, this lawyer, was constantly wanting Pemex to hire him. He would seek interviews for Pemex to hire him and for him to handle those matters, which never came to pass. Not in my area nor in any other area of Pemex was he entrusted with handling any matter. I just want to understand that last point that you just made, and also to benefit the tribunal. Could you inform us whether Mr. Roberto Kiosayan or the law firm in which he worked or works provides legal services to Pemex or any of its subsidiary companies? No, it's never been hired. Fine. Now, you know that the claimants and their witness have spoken of a supposed meeting that occurred supposedly in September of 2018 at this restaurant called Ba Aceitun in Mexico City.
¿Podría explicarle al tribunal si usted ha...
Could you please explain to the tribunal whether you attended that meeting? I don't recall having done so. I wasn't at that meeting. Fine. Before this arbitration hearing, do you remember having met Mr. Luis Oseguera Carnion? No. The first time I saw him, and the first time I knew that he was Mr. Oseguera, was yesterday at the beginning of the hearing, and the attorney introduced all of the members. Fine. Mr. President, members of the tribunal, right now we don't have any further questions.
This brings this session to a closing. Are there any housekeeping points to be? Were you raising your hand? No. Oh. Annalise, I think we are okay. We're done. So remember that tomorrow we are convening at 8 a.m. an early time, and you as well. Usted también, señor Lusteno.
And you too, Mr. Lostano.
Just a reminder for tomorrow, if they're asking questions in English and the witness is responding in Spanish without interpretation, if you could please pause between question and answer so that interpreters and court reporters can get the proper information.
Well, with that caveat in mind,
Señor Presidente, nada más para que...
Mr. President, just for the clarity of everyone and in a spirit of openness, we would like to recall that in keeping with PO9, Mr. Rodrigo Lostano will be sequestered and we will not have any contact with him. Well, I see the representative of Mexico has reminded you of this point, so you will be sequestered this evening.
tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Gracias.
Thank you.